Hello, police? Yeah, look, I'd like to report a crime. A thief has got hold of my computer. No, they haven't taken the computer. They've stolen the information on it, you know, the files. Well, no, the files are still there. They've copied them. How do I know? Well, look, forget it. Hi, I'm Graham Phillips and welcome to Hot Chips. Throughout this series, we've been trying to show the broad impact the information revolution's having on our society. We've looked at some of the positive applications in medicine and scientific research, for example, and we've also highlighted some of the areas causing concern, such as the effect of all this information gathering on our privacy. Tonight, however, we'd like to introduce one of the more sinister side effects of information technology: computer crime. It's relatively easy to perpetrate, it often goes undetected, and it is costing business millions. Here's John Millard to tell us more.
Remember this lot? Flinty-faced men, exotic women, double agents, code crackers, stealing secrets from mission control. It was all very fanciful. Today, every work environment's a mission control. And the big secret? Information. Now, information technology has provided us with a highly effective tool for business processing and global communication. But it's also provided a powerful and fast tool for the computer criminal. Now, the double agents are lurking amongst us. So who are they? What are they doing? And the really worrying thing, how much are we being told?
The general public look on computers as a wonderful new tool. They don't realise the potential of that tool as an aid to computer fraud and crime. The biggest threat is the disgruntled employee. About 66% of the organisations I researched admitted they had been hit by computer fraud but would not talk about it any further.
It's a world of time bombs, viruses, sabotage and theft. And, say the experts, it's pretty easy to do and pretty hard to stop. You see, unlike the old-fashioned criminal, I can be sitting here at work where I'm supposed to be, looking like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, when actually what I'm doing is programming into my computer a time bomb. A bomb that'll go off in about 2 months' time and take out the company's information, while I'm sitting back in my yacht in the Bahamas, being paid for by the boss's competition.
Computer crime in Australia has been estimated at costing us $15 billion per annum.
There have always been criminals stealing from companies, breaking doors, cracking safes. But doing it this way is a lot harder than this. And, hey presto, no hands. It all ends up here, in my account, or here with the company's files. You see, the multi-million-dollar assets of a company rest in their files. Steal these, and you steal the big jump on your competitor.
I believe that computer crime will be the #1 crime of the future. Well, with traditional crimes, you have a body on the floor or a smoking gun or a bloodied knife. With computer crime, you have nothing.
So why are victims not reporting computer crime to police?
Well, in my opinion, I think it's because they have board of directors and shareholders to answer to, and I don't think that it would help their cause if they were found out to be victims of various types of crimes.
If you have two banks, for example, and one of them says we've just been ripped off for $500,000 for a computer crime, most people will go and take their business to the opposition.
Companies have been intruded upon for some time now, and they are reluctant to report it to police. So therein is one good incentive for organised crime to be involved, not being caught.
So if all this is occurring, how do you secure these mountains of information?
There is no such thing as a 100% secure computer. The only way to have it 100% secure is to put it in a room, lock it up and let nobody use it. As soon as you let somebody use your computer, you're opening yourself up to an exposure.
So what are we overlooking?
I think everybody has their price. If you had the ability to transfer $1 million to an account that you could then use and you thought there was a chance it would not be detected, would you be tempted?
Get someone to come up here and get them. I'm flat out at the moment.
So this demands new responsibilities. It means that smart companies like Qantas have to look at the workplace in a different light. Security systems like these have become necessary to protect both the information and the innocent employee. And such big stakes attract the biggest of players, organised crime.
So we know there's a problem. Mission control is being tampered with. And we know there's a problem within the problem. People just don't want to talk. And so criminals are succeeding and getting off lightly. And we know the solution is greater security. But what's that mean to you and me?
The level of personal tracking and monitoring that we're heading towards is where every person will be fully accountable for what they do on a computer system. There are currently systems available which will identify signatures. We currently use fingerprints. There are retina scans currently available in some organisations, mainly high security defence. There actually has been tests in the US where they work on a lip print, where you kiss your computer. It is true that you can never secure a system without securing the people using that system as well.
So that all means, my friends, that surveillance, like we've never seen before, is here to stay.
Computer crime extends far beyond big business. It's even being used as a tool for international espionage. During the Gulf War, for example, computer viruses were used to corrupt Iraqi missile tracking systems, therefore rendering them ineffective against American weapons. Can't be a better place to grow up than on a farm. Beautiful fresh air, rolling hills as far as you can see, and a dam full of yappies. What more could you ask for? Well, according to one farm boy here in South Australia, a lot more. Craig Tiller's not crazy about yappying, or most of the other delights of farm life for that matter. He'd rather be reading. And we're not talking novels here. Craig is obsessed with computers. In fact, he's a bit of a computer genius. At only 14 years of age, he's already entering his programs in competitions where most of the other entrants are either large corporations or computer scientists. And he's winning awards. Craig started programming when he was just 8 years old, and very quickly left his classmates and teachers behind. In fact, these days, the school principal often uses Craig as a computer consultant. And those awards?
There's been Elephant Science Awards, which is a South Australian one for school students. And then there's the recent Sydney one for the Royal Agricultural Show.
The program that won in the Sydney show is impressive stuff. It helps farmers identify which parts of their properties are suffering soil erosion and degradation. The farmers enter the details of their paddocks into the program, and it suggests ways they might improve their land by changing their planting patterns, for example. Now, if you're thinking Craig's probably learned his computing skills from mum and dad, you're quite wrong. He's completely self-taught. His parents are farmers. Sheep farmers.
Lovely.
Yeah, so did you lose much topsoil?
No, we're a bit lucky.
In fact, sipping tea in the front yard of a century-old house with a couple whose profession is probably 100 centuries old made me realise just how unlikely a place this is to produce a computer hotshot. Did he show any signs of, being a genius at an early age?
No. No, that's been an amazing transformation because at kindergarten, the kindergarten director was worried about him even starting school because no one could understand him. His speech was not good at all. I was the only one that could understand him up until he went to school.
Yeah, I couldn't understand him all. I have to ask Rosie what he said.
Really?
Yeah.
Does it run in the family?
Oh, no, it doesn't run the family. I've had the stud records on the computer for 10, 15 years. But, no, Craig's just a one-off, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how it happened. It just, he's taken to it and, yeah.
Craig's occasionally coaxed by Dad to do a little work around the farm, but you get the feeling he's not really comfortable with that down-to-earth life.
He used to hate being called a computer whiz by the other kids. He thought they were teasing him. It was a worry for us and his teachers during primary school. They worried that he spent too much time on it because there's nothing else in life. He wasn't interested in playing football, and when his younger brother started playing football, well, to get him to football on Saturdays was a real chore. He'd take a pile of computer magazines and manuals with and sit in the car all day and just read. And he used to beg us for a laptop because he really hated being away from the computer.
How many hours a day would you spend on the computer?
4 to 5.
Every day?
I try to.
What, more on weekends?
Yeah.
Do you think you're addicted to computers?
Some say I am, yeah.
What do you think?
Maybe. Probably, yeah.
Craig may be leading a pretty unusual life for these parts. But these days, Mum and Dad aren't so worried about his computer addiction. After all, he does know what he wants out of life. His interests just lie in a different direction, and probably a far more profitable one. One of his heroes is the multi-billionaire computer guru, Bill Gates. So do you think you've got a future Bill Gates on your hands here?
I hope so. And I hope he remembers his mum and dad. Yeah.
What I am showing you is, as far as I'm concerned, a small miracle. This small, handheld, personal digital assistant is looking at what I write and converting it into typed characters, ASCII code. It's not as fast as I would like. Few things in computers are. It's not as accurate as I would like, although this is improving. But what is miraculous is that it works at all. The problem is that this sort of handwriting recognition requires some considerable input from the user. There's a sort of two-way process. You need to change your handwriting somewhat to help the computer. The computer has to learn how to recognize your writing. Since playing with handwriting recognition, my handwriting, which was an appalling illiterate scrawl, has improved tremendously. At the same time, the Newton has been adding words that I use to its dictionary and has been learning the idiosyncrasies of my writing. That is handwriting recognition with a single user. But can a computer be trained to recognize the handwriting of a variety of users? Can a computer become as smart as a human in reading handwriting? The answer at the moment appears to be a regretful but definite no. It is possible to set up a computer to read letters which are written carefully into pre-arranged boxes, but handwriting of all and every style, at a bet, not in this century.
It's said that a technology hasn't really arrived until it's so commonplace it's become invisible. There's a nice irony at work in this story because just down the hill are Xerox Parc. They're the people who 20 years ago first conceived of and developed the personal computer. That's the one that sits on top of your desk. Now, 2 decades later, they're the ones who are trying to make it almost disappear.
It was a great idea at the time, so 20 years later, now we're ready to take the next step in ease of use, which is to get rid of that heavy box on your desk and populate even more of your life with much smaller and easy-to-use computers.
Mark Weiser heads a team of visionaries at the Computer Science Laboratory at Xerox Parc in Silicon Valley, USA. He's the godfather of a new push in information technology, what he's dubbed ubiquitous computing. A world where computers will be absolutely everywhere, but almost nowhere to be seen.
Well, I think the big mind shift in ubiquitous computing is that the computer should be invisible. Ideally, you should not think, oh, I'm using a computer. You should think, oh, I'm getting my work done better.
Nowadays, to work on your files, you have to sit in front of the big box on your desk and give it your full attention. Mark Weiser wants you to have access to your files wherever you are, via hundreds of smaller computers. For that, you'll need 2 things: a wireless network to connect them all together, and some way for computers to locate you wherever you are. Ubiquitous computing starts with small, unobtrusive computers like this one that I'm wearing. It's called an active badge, and it uses infrared rays to communicate with a wireless network in the ceiling. That network can then map the position of anybody wearing a badge anywhere in this building. Even the coffee pot has one, so that we know when the coffee's freshly brewed. As long as I'm wearing this badge, my location can be tracked as I move around this building from room to room. Because the active badge knows when you've entered a room, it can trigger a computer to pull up your files. It can also adjust room controls for lighting and air conditioning to suit your preferences.
Hi, Chris. Now go back to work.
What's that?
Well, that's the computer greeting you, recognizing your active badge.
I see. What are you working on here, Bill?
I'm working on the next step up from the active badge, which are the Parc tabs. And these are little computers that fit in the palm of your hand, and they have buttons on the side. And it has a screen that's touch sensitive, and it communicates using the infrared from here up to the transceivers in the ceiling.
The handheld tabs will enable the user to communicate with their own computer files no matter where they are, reading their electronic mail, calling up documents, even connecting them to computer networks.
So if I walk over to a colleague's room, I can pull up a program and immediately see their calendar.
But what about privacy? Being tracked by computers around the workplace may make it easy for the receptionist to find us, but do we always want to be found?
In ubiquitous computing, to make it effective, the computer knows a lot about you. It knows where you are, it knows what you're doing, and there's considerable potential for abuse of that by the employer, by the company that wants to sell you something, so wants to know what stores you've been in and so on. There'll be, therefore, a great need for increased privacy laws in the future and increased technology to keep people's private things private.
Questions of privacy aside, this vision of our computing future doesn't stop at the office. Mark Weiser sees a day when inconspicuous computers are all over our homes, talking to us and each other, even replacing the debris on the fridge door.
I can imagine in the future I would come home and on my refrigerator is a note from my daughter saying she's going to be late from school. She had soccer practice after school. But in fact, she wrote that note while at school, sitting in her classroom on her own little scrap computer, and it showed up on my refrigerator automatically.
Well, if we had a tab, we just drive.
The scrap computers that Mark has in mind might look something like these pads. They can be picked up and used anywhere, and they can talk to each other.
So the tab is talking to the agent, and the
electronic whiteboards and pads can be linked via a wireless network, enabling people in different rooms to hold a meeting. What's written on the whiteboards appears on everyone's pads, and vice versa.
That the agent model is probably okay.
Right, I think you're right.
What about that pad down in the corner? What happens when two pads want to talk to each other?
Okay, so if this pad...
Computers will be very inexpensive, as little as $5 or $10. They'll be all over the place. They'll be sort of like scrap paper. You'll have scrap computers, you walk up to them, do a little information on it, and then walk away. Meanwhile, the computers are all on a network, so they store your information away in your special repository.
Paper's a good analogy for this vision of the future. It takes a multitude of forms. It's everywhere. We depend on it, and yet we take it totally for granted. Mark Weiser's anticipating a future where computers are that ubiquitous.
The whole point is for the computer to get out of your way, to let you get work done, for the computer to be invisible.
With the screen market worth around $9 billion next year, the race is on to build brighter screens, mobile screens, flatter screens, and certainly bigger screens.
Well, this is about as big as screens get. I'm on the giant screen in Shibuya, central Tokyo, and it's certainly the first time I've ever had a face 2 stories high. So why is it we can get a screen this big in the street, but we can't get a wall-sized screen in our own homes?
Well, the simple answer is money and technology. This is the very latest thing in big flat screens. It's a plasma screen, and it's taken the people here at NHK TV 20 years to get this far. Well, this thin and this wide. In close-up, the plasma screen may look just like your television screen. But behind each of those blue, green and red dots, or pixels, there's a minute bubble of gas. An electrical charge causes each bubble to glow, and the end result is a very good picture on a very skinny screen. At the other end of Japan, on the island of Kyushu, there's a boom, and they're flat out making flat screens.
This is Minamata, the small Japanese town which gave its name to a disease. Minamata drew world attention back in the early 60s when some of its people were poisoned by mercury from the local chemical factory. Today, this area is becoming well known again, but this time for one of the cleanest industries. Minamata is becoming the screen capital of the world.
This place makes thin film transistor screens. And this is as big as they can make them without breaking the bank. 25 centimetres across, 10 inches, and they make them in the cleanest room in the world. The process is photographic, hence the yellow light. The bizarre thing about this place is that robots do the skilled work. The humans do the drudge work, cleaning. Now, this sort of screen production has a 50% failure rate. What makes this $35 million factory so special is that only 1 in 4 of their screens is a dud.
Well, this is the end of the line. Colour computer screens tapped and wrapped. And for one this size, you'll pay about $1,500. That's just for the screen. The screen is really like one big silicon chip. And right now, it's impossible to build a chip the size of your wall. It would cost millions.
Now, this technology could produce a flat 55-centimetre television set. And again, they could, in theory, make a wall-sized TV with a thin film transistor screen, and it would fit in your living room. But given the difficulty of making these computer screens, I wouldn't hold my breath. So, we can have smart TVs, small TVs, high-definition TVs, even widescreen TVs. But when it comes to big, flat, wall-sized TVs, I'm afraid we're exactly where we were 10 years ago. And the tip is, we're at least another 10 years away from a true TV feature wall.
That's all from us tonight. Next week, we'll be bringing you the last episode in this series of Hot Chips. And we'll be posing the question, is this information revolution creating a whole new breed of haves and have-nots? Just who'll have access to this brave new world? And who'll be left behind? That's next week. See you then.
There's an ambiguity about the information superhighway. I mean, theoretically, the potential there is to narrow the gap between the information rich and the information poor, or to widen it. I'd say if we can learn anything from history, the chances are it will probably widen it, because there'll be this growing gap between those who've been able to master it, who understand it, who feel very confident with it, and those who feel disadvantaged because they're so remote from it.
Tomorrow, we look at an Australian device that can help you build a table in under 4 minutes. Also, the history of aviation's black box. And we brave the rough tracks of off-road skating. Join Mike Whitney for more great ideas tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Coming up after a news update, our ABC special, Dudley. This week's edition of Hot Chips is available on video by calling ABC Television Programme Sales on Sydney 02950 3173 or 02950 3174 during business hours.
You look terrible. Get Attitude.
Attitude on the ABC are doing a special on comedy, and I'm in it.
7:30 on Attitude. Daryl Summers will definitely not be appearing.
7:30 Saturday. Attitude returns with a comedy spectacular.
It went on for too long, and it was becoming a joke.
He was brusque. There were whole lots of things about his approach which used to grate with me.
A partnership that steered us toward new horizons had run aground, and the man born to be Prime Minister left the stage, no longer seen as the Messiah he had been 9 years before. From the acclaimed documentary series Labour in Power, ABC presents Hawke and Keating, a searching look at two men in crisis, in two one-hour parts, commencing 9:30 tonight.
Tomorrow night on the 7:30 report, a potentially lethal virus spreading even faster than HIV.
In excess of 100,000 people in Australia have been infected. A major epidemic.
A new health warning next at 7:30.
Hello and welcome. Clive Hale from the ABC National News Desk. The Foreign Affairs Department has for the first time warned that Australians may be specific targets in Khmer Rouge guerrilla attacks in Cambodia. Australians in the country have been called to a special embassy briefing tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Cambodian government has moved troops into the region where Melbourne man David Wilson and two other Westerners are still presumed to be held hostage. The New South Wales opposition has raised fresh doubts over the state government's plans for the Sydney casino. Opposition leader Bob Carr says he has serious concerns about the suitability of the government's preferred operator for the casino, but won't detail them until Parliament resumes. And a rail strike planned for Sydney tomorrow has been called off. Last-minute Labor Council talks averted the strike by maintenance workers, which was to have started at midnight. More news in an hour, late edition at 10:30 tonight.
think I'm coming down with what Mum's got.
I doubt that, mate. She's up the duff.
As new life is created
I don't want to be like that woman on Oprah who had triplets at my age.
and re-evaluated,
I steal garbage, for Pete's sake. I came this close to kidnapping my own kid.
Harvey's beliefs are blown apart.
A proper marriage, for better, for worse, for sickness and in health, till death us do part. You can't, it's my brain!
8:30 Thursday on ABC, The Damnation of Harvey McHugh. Fame. Every young performer's dream, and it could come true when a new series coming soon to ABC introduces the stars of tomorrow. If you or someone you know has got what it takes to perform with one of Australia's finest symphony orchestras, pick up an application form from ABC shops, ABC centres, or by phoning this number. So be quick and join the queue for Quest.
You look terrible. Get Attitude.
Attitude on the ABC are doing a special on comedy, and I'm in it.
7:30 on Attitude, Daryl Summers will definitely not be appearing.
7:30 Saturday. Attitude returns with a comedy spectacular.
More determination.
You paid?
More current affairs.
I've just been on the radio saying we wouldn't be involved in checkbook journalism.
Mike Moore returns.
Hello, I'm Mike Moore. Welcome to Frontline.
At the new time of 8 o'clock Saturday.